Hello everybody, and welcome to the finale of Little King's story. You heard me right, the finale. We have made it beyond the world that we know. And this is just so strange. Now, I feel the need to point out that I think, not sure, but I think the song that we heard as we were rising through up to the sky was Sansen's Carnival of the Animals, the Swan. But once again, not sure, and I'm not 100% sure what the tune is for the world beyond. But whatever it is, it's a really lovely, peaceful tune. Now, in this final kingdom, there are no enemies. We just need to make it to see what is attacking our world.
Con un stretoque dell'atinadorno, con la notte che si apre panderete rixtrat. Con un stretoque dell'atinadorno, con la notte che si apre terrate 5 ave siglas. Kaga kankenia to shite wa naranai. Sloka wa ni nasuru yoni. Kaga kankenia to shite wa naranai.
So, what we need to do here is speak to Verd a reasonable amount. We want to examine this strange piece of matter, which you may realise is kind of a bit of, poo. Like, very disgusting feces. But you can't get anywhere until you do that. Although it's very intriguing if you look at this. Doodles of adults. My uncle is drunk. My teacher thinks he is a pig. The guy next door thinks too much, and the guy up the street thinks he's great because he's tall. And if you look at these fellas, they look remarkably like the kings that we have faced on our journey. Memories of Grandpa. Last year my grandpa died. Grandpa is now in heaven, where he became a knight. A bull knight, to be precise. Castle of my dreams. This is my dream castle, Bran Castle. I wish my castle was like this. Little King's story. A long time ago there was a lonely boy king. His name was Richie, and he set off on a journey to defeat the 7 kings of the world to prove he was the best king of all. And so, it would seem that our entire story has been created by a young boy. Because the kings are all as though, well, are all figurative renderings of the men that this boy knows. Hauser is quite obviously his grandfather. And Skinny Ray, I don't think you really want to be calling that Skinium. It's not exactly the type of thing you want to name yourself after, but either way. So either way, as I said, the only way of getting through this area is to speak to Verd. Whichever princess you bring with you will have different dialogue throughout this, so it can be very fascinating to see how they respond to it all. Although I have to say, the thing that slightly frustrates me is that it can be annoying to figure out exactly what you're doing, because you have just got to constantly talk to your queen, and then eventually stuff will move and you'll be able to progress. But I mean, I do like this section because it is at once very calm, very peaceful, and quite magical, but also there's a horrifying sense of foreboding, because things fall down towards us, and everything's just a little bit creepy, and then there's just that noise, and things hiding in the shadows, and we can hear the sound of a young boy sleeping.
D'acclamer un homme, que d'acclamer, que dompter, d'acclamer pas capable, parti, qui tout clamer, que d'acclamer, sing, pas ton fort, on peut, comment, pas capable, parti, que d'acclamer, sing, que
And our beloved wife has been kidnapped, so I think we're going to have to rescue her. It's kind of very important. And oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's not looking good, is it? It's not looking good at all. It looks like there's no returning to our flying machine. So all we can do is head into this arena and see what horrifying beast awaits.
Tratate 5 aves y las 8 clases. Esperaban comisionar con un estrecho de la adorno. Pan de derecha Rickstrat. Paralim y de que se apro.
Personen polykeroiderai. Fuzzesvelser. Fyazor tezen de teller. People was. King! Manenero, no se pelotios, on doesn't get on you.
There is the pants. So, Robert Vance Legion.
Tratate 5 aves y esperaban comisionar con un estrecho.
And so, with what I believe to be a rousing version of Beethoven's Symphony No. 5, it's time to begin our fight against the Rat King. And the stunning final boss music that we have here is Mussorgsky's Night on Bold Mountain, which obviously you should definitely recognise. So, before we even get to King Rat himself, we're going to have to deal with the other rats. So, the blue rat is by far the fastest, and what it does is it charges in our army, and will often split into two, and you're going to have to quickly decide which one is the right one. You can generally tell because it's the one that has, well, splits into four. It's the one that has the smoke coming out of its head. If you don't catch him in time, then there's a very strong chance that he will grab your people and instantly kill them. So you have got to be so careful during this fight, because obviously there is no coming back. If they die in this fight, they will be dead forever. Next up, we have the yellow rat. And as you can probably tell, this one does a lot of farting and shooting poo that explodes. So, it's very much a case of avoiding all the dung, because it's just not very pleasant and it will explode upon you touching it, so that's, you've got to be super careful. I'm quite glad that I did actually only lose one person on my journey up here, because that means that should everything go horrendously wrong, there is a fountain. Well, it's actually already opened up here, but I think there is a hole somewhere in this arena which will allow us to open up another fountain should it be required. So that makes things quite a bit more simple for us should everything begin to go horrendously wrong. But the reason, well, you want mostly hardened soldiers for this fight because you want people to be clinging on to your foes and attacking them that way. The reason you want the hunters is for when you just need to steer clear of it. It's mostly for the Rat King himself, more so than any of these rats. But all of them can be a bit of a challenge. The red rat is definitely the most aggressive, and it'll charge you and make shockwaves, so you've got to be just ultra on it to not get absolutely decimated by him. And then what it'll do is he will climb up to the top and then come slamming down on you. I believe obviously it does show you exactly where he's going to land, because it does that thing as you probably saw. But yes, the entire fight against the rats. Obviously, it's Little King's story, so on the whole, it's not the most challenging thing ever, but it is certainly the most challenging fight you will face in the game. But as you probably, well, you might have spotted, each of the rats represents one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Conquest, war, famine, and death. And now we need to face down all three of these rats at once. So they can be pretty horrifying. And it's the end of the world because they will attack our world and we need to do everything in our power to stop them. So, according to the Little King story Wikia, the blue rat is most likely Conquest in this Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse narrative. The yellow rat is most likely to be Famine because of his attacks and his coloration. The red rat, I would say, is most likely to be War because of his aggressive nature and his red colour, which means that the Rat King most definitely is death. And everything is just coming to an end. So Manjaro's erupted, the end of the world's at 20%, and that'll just keep rising. Unless we do something now. So this is essentially timed. I think if the world gets to 100%, it's game over, because then we will have completely failed at doing what we set out to do. But this is just, it's horrifying, because we've worked so hard to make the kingdom lovely, and now these monsters are just completely obliterating it. And it's at this point where the Nutcracker similarities should come into the fore in the game. Because obviously you've had the Little Prince stuff. But I did mention the Nutcracker, because as in that story, this is a story about a tiny prince or tiny king going and facing down an evil rat king to save the day. It's exactly the same in the Nutcracker. And here comes King Rat. We've destroyed all of his minions, and now he's coming down to face us himself. And he's not going to go down easily. And oh, he's just eaten Verd. And there goes our link to the world that we come from. We are now resolutely on our own, and Verd is just hanging there, and she's going to get digested if we don't do anything quickly. And so, let's face down the Rat King, easily the toughest enemy you'll face in the game. So, the Rat King will use a combination of all of the attacks of the previous rats to take us down. So, you're going to have to figure out which King is the right rat, and he will do this move. Well, he'll do a few moves which are instant kill. So, there's the one where he will charge towards you in his split form, and that can be quite disastrous, because he can grab so many at once. There's another one where he will swipe up some of your soldiers, and that can be incredibly nasty as well. I believe it's this move, actually. And there we go. All of those people are now permanently dead. We lost 8 people in that attack. So as you can see, the Rat King can be fiercely deadly. And oh, it's terrifying. And he has some attacks of his own, because obviously he's firing out rat missiles and all sorts. But yes, I have to say, I do think this is a very fascinating final boss, because it does very much link back to that whole Nutcracker thing, and it's just another classical reference. Because obviously the Nutcracker is a huge ballet thing. It's easily one of the most famous ballets in the world outside of like Swan Lake. So it's just really cool to have another really smart and well done classical reference in here. And it just means that it's just more getting to see things that you wouldn't have done normally. And the way that you tell which of these rats is the real one is that glowing eye. That hideous glowing eye that you... oh, it's terrifying. You probably should have spotted it a few times, actually, during the game. Mostly when we looked through to the world beyond. And it was terrifying. And also, a lot of people were mentioning a glowing red light in the sky, and evidently that was King Rat, or the Rat King. And there go even more. We're down to 12. And I feel awful that we've lost so many people on this fight. But there's very little that we can actually do, because this guy is just horrifying. And that nearly ended really oh, nope, there goes some more people, because there's no way we can save them. Oh. This is a fight that can go very quickly south if you're not careful. So you've just got to stay as on the ball as you physically can, and just do everything in your power to stay alive. And fingers crossed, we might be able to get him dead right now. Or it might take us another... yeah, I think it's going to take us just another few hits. And then he will be dead forever. And we will have saved the world. But he's not going to go down without a final fight. No way in hell. There we go. We've killed the Rat King. And we get to see the wonderfully bizarre ending of this game. And that is the end of Little King's story. Now, I think quite a few people were very confused and perhaps not quite happy with that ending, because it is very contemporary and very strange. Because there's not really an ending, it's just very ambiguous, very bizarre, because, well, we just lost our queen and all the people that King Rat ate, and the king that we've been playing was a toy, or was he real, or was he created through imagination? Nobody quite knows, but, I mean, the main gist of it is that the people in the world of Little King's story existed in reality, perhaps. And Kurobo, which is the name of the young boy, invested his world, his story, with these characters to try and get over some of his own issues, perhaps. It's one of those very difficult things to understand because it's very ambiguous and so on. But I do love this game so much because it's just really fun and just, on the whole, really fascinating, because not only is it an enjoyable game to play, but you've also got all of this classical music going on, you've got all of this clever literary stuff going on as well, all wrapped up in this very unique art style that's just gorgeous, and with a soundtrack that's just bursting with character, and I just really do love it dearly, and I'm so glad that I got to share it all with you. So, I hope you've all enjoyed Little King's story. I hopefully will see you in the extras, and then I will see you in the next playthrough. See you then.